Hello, welcome everyone to another episode of the White Light Collective podcast. I'm Monique Morrison, the founder of Moonbeam Healing, and I am so excited to be here with you again as we continue exploring the incredible world of energy, holistic healing, and personal transformation. Today we have a truly special guest, Frédérique Perreault, and Frédérique is a compassionate and intuitive healer with a deep passion for helping others through tarot, Reiki, and natural therapy. As a dedicated practitioner here at Moonbeam Healing and a lifelong student of psychology, herbalism, yoga, and the arts, she blends knowledge, empathy, and intuition to create deep, meaningful connections with those she works with. Through her tarot readings, Frédérique helps clients gain clarity by connecting with their spirit guides, interpreting messages through both tarot and oracle cards to shed light on life's questions. And as a Reiki Level 2 practitioner, she works with universal energy and crystals to restore balance, ease stress, and support emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being. And with natural therapy, she provides personalized, holistic guidance, helping clients improve their overall health and natural methods tailored to their unique needs. Today, we'll also be drawing for a $25 Moonbeam gift certificate during the show. So to enter, all you have to do is leave a comment during the live broadcast, and one lucky winner viewer will win. So be sure to engage with us. Let us know that you're here. All right, so let's get started. Frédérique, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here.
I'm really happy to be here too.
Yeah.
I'm a bit nervous, but it's fine.
Oh, it's all good. We're just gonna chat, and I know that
Yeah.
when we've chatted in the past, it felt like there was such great synergy and energy, and I
Yeah,
always just the flow. We always have such great conversations.
Yeah, it's a good
Um,
connection.
yeah. So to kind of kick things off, your journey into healing is really unique and kind of multifaceted because you do, Reiki, you do the natural therapy, you do tarot as well. So you want to just start off by letting people know kind of like what first sparked your interest in holistic healing and kind of how your path led to tarot, Reiki, and natural
Yeah.
therapy?
Basically, I started originally just doing psychology because I wanted to understand myself,
Mm.
and to, be able to understand others. And eventually, I started having like health difficulties because I didn't realize that at the time, but now looking back, I know that's what the issue was. I was prioritizing others way too much. So it was having like kind of a toll on me. And
Mm.
so that's what got me like starting to have like some interest in spiritual things. Like I started with lethal therapy. So it wasn't exactly where I'm at right now, but I still do that though.
Mm.
And I got interested because it's all about energy, and I was like, maybe that's sort of what the issue is. So I started working with those, and I felt like a difference. And then when I saw doctors, what they said was that what was causing my issues, my health issues, was the fact that I was too stressed. So,
Mm.
and I didn't know how to like get that down. Like I'd had medication before, but I didn't want to opt for that because like it plays in your head a bit.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to use like a more holistic approach, and my mom referred to me to a well, she was a naturopath. So,
Mm.
and yeah, so she helped me and gave me advice. And when what I tried with her worked, I just decided I'm a pretty independent person. I like to learn what I can do so that I can help myself and others. So I decided to follow a course in that. And yeah, so that's pretty much how I got there. And then while I was doing this, I got into Reiki. Just it's like a follow up of the lethal therapy thing. And
Mm.
as I was doing this, I also really got into tarot. So yeah, I started like being more spiritual, and I went to places where they sold more spiritual stuff, and I got really into everything that's pretty spiritual. So,
Nice. And so growing up, your mom's a like your mom was a naturopath. So were you, even as a child, kind of like taught and learning natural methods of healing yourself?
actually, my mom is right now a natural therapist too, but she wasn't when I was younger. But she was pretty spiritual when we were young. Like she would tell me when I was going through hard stuff to pray. She'd tell me to pray to God. Personally, this is not what I go for right now, but this is all I knew then. So this is what I did
Hmm.
whenever it got hard. Although I only like halfway believed in it. I was just too young to understand. Um, and with time, we just like started connecting more with me and my mom about these things and like having more profound discussions about it. And it really sunk in that like, okay, no, like the universe is working with me in this. Like I'm not
Yeah,
alone.
I love that. And
Yeah.
so you you kind of started on the naturopath
Yeah.
kind of course, and then you got into Reiki. And so, what was that experience like for you? Because that's kind of like a transition
Yeah.
from, like physically helping people with like herbal remedies and other things, like more natural remedies. And then there's kind of like this shift into things that you can't see, like Reiki is more like energy work. So, how was that experience for you?
Um, well, I feel like it's just like a follow up, like it's a nice
Mm,
continuity
yeah.
because technically natural therapy is just like helping with natural ways, and the universe is natural. Being like spiritual is kind of like how it naturally goes into it. You believe in the power of plants, you believe in like the power of the earth and what it can bring to you and its energy and all. So it's I don't see it as a different thing. I see it as just something that makes my practice better, more complete.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. And so you kind of describe yourself as a lifelong student with
Yeah.
like deep curiosity for knowledge. So kind of how has that passion shaped the way that you like work with clients and that you approach healing and just the way that you connect with people?
Um, I think it helps me. Wait, it helps me reach to understand people better because since I have like so many different things that allow me to better understand someone, like it's just it, they complete each other pretty well. Like I have like a little
Hmm.
knowledge in this and a little knowledge in this and this, so it's like it allows me to see people in many different ways, you know?
Mm,
It
I get that.
allows me to help them like more profoundly, I feel like.
Yeah. And I'd imagine too, because you were like into the psychology side
Yeah.
of things, um, that you probably bring a lot of that in
Yeah.
like understanding into
Yeah,
it.
definitely. I'm pretty I like to analyze things. Sometimes it's a little of a problem too because I tend to rationalize things a little too much.
Mm,
But overall, like it just allows me to understand people in every way that I can. Like it allows me to understand them, like their mentality, how they work, their habits. If like, and like through the work that I do, let's say like it's even just a Reiki session, like I can help you with certain things that I understand the psychology behind it. So I can give advice on that, but I can also help you with the Reiki stuff. So
mm,
like, I don't know, it gives me like a more like global approach, I think.
yeah, yeah. And so like people often hear of like naturotherapists, but they haven't all been to one. So like what would you say would be like the difference between a traditional doctor and going to see like a naturotherapist, and like when someone might want to consider going to see a naturotherapist?
Well, the first thing I'll say is like, in my opinion, like people can do whatever they want with that.
Mm-hmm.
But personally, I think it should be like the other way around. Instead of going to see an traditional doctor first, you should definitely go see a naturotherapist, because there are ways that you can help your body without needing to, like the health system is pretty overcrowded because people keep going to find the magical pill, but
Mm,
you have to do the work first. So like if you go to see a naturotherapist, don't expect like something that's going to change overnight. This is not how it works. You have to actually put in the work and put in the efforts. And what I mean by that is like, let's say I recommend to you like a certain plant. Plants don't work overnight. They take a bit of time to actually act on your body. Certain plants do work pretty fast, but overall you still need to be consistent in it.
mm,
So like if this is like something that you want to turn to, which I really do recommend because it is great for your body, it gives like a lot of autonomy for you. Um, just keep in mind that it is not something that's going to happen overnight. It is something that you have to work on until the issue is resolved, and that you have to keep like maintaining the habits after that, which is why
mhm,
like having a multifaceted approach helps with that, because if I understand you and your lifestyle and stuff, then I can help you better with giving you advice that will help you like maintain that in time.
mhm.
So yeah, that's
Love,
pretty much how I see this.
I love that. And so, um, when you're like suggesting plants, I know that there's probably different ways that people use it. So, is it like adding it to their food, or do they add like do you create tinctures or salves or like a mix of things?
It really depends on the person I'm talking to, really, because like,
Mm,
let's say for I'll go with a pretty classic one. Like, let's say for anxiety, there are certain plants that are my favorites. That are my go-tos because they're pretty safe for everyone and there's not really any like interactions. Like I would go for something that's like skullcap, and I would go mostly for tinctures. But if you're someone that lives like anxiety a lot throughout the day, tinctures are pretty like efficient at that. Like they work pretty fast. But if you're someone who just like needs like for insomnia, well, that would be more of a tea type of thing.
mm,
So it
mm,
really depends on the context. And also, yeah, you can add it to your food, definitely. But it really depends on what your issue is. So if you're trying to boost your immune system, then yeah, I would most likely like recommend like something that you can add to your food on a regular basis so that like it boosts it on a regular basis, because that's what you need to do. Like I said, it's consistency. So
mhm. Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think that consistency is something that we all strive
yeah.
to be better at. And so, even though some days are inconsistent, I guess overall the consistency is there. And so,
Yes.
it being like kind of like cold and flu season now, what what's your favorite herb for boosting the immune system? Like everyone thinks vitamin C and oranges, but is that actually kind of where you go?
It's
And I
not
know
what I
that
would
you
recommend, no.
no.
It's not because it doesn't work, though. It will work, but
Mm,
it's not my go-to. My go-to would be
mm,
more something like echinacea
mm.
for and it's
Like
mostly with,
echinacea?
yeah, exactly. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would be that, and mostly in tinctures, because for teas it will work, but tinctures are just like a more like concentrated version of that. So I would
Yeah.
go for that, and depending on like for me personally, they don't recommend that on the bottle. Usually, they recommend to take it like, let's say, 3 times a day. But personally, if you really want to fight that cold, take it once an hour. Like
Mm,
just one thing, like one
drop.
droppy thing. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
not one drop, but like one whole like pipette.
Oh, like the little vial, like
Yeah,
the,
exactly. Like
I don't
one
know the
whole
word,
thing
but yeah.
once an hour, because that is going to be like really, really effective.
Mm, mm,
And do it like every day until you feel less and less of the effect of it. And right at the beginning, like you get a sore throat, do it right away. And you can
yeah.
use also like certain syrups for that. They do sell some that are all natural. I recommend those mostly. But if you can't find that, then just a syrup that contains things like elderberries and honey and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, Also, apple cider vinegar. Those things are all like all together. They're going to help you.
Yeah. Nice. And so, um, do you find that uh, like the people that you work with, do they come for a particular like service like naturotherapy first and then they kind of go into Reiki? Do you find that people come for Reiki and then they get drawn to the naturotherapy, or is it just like a mix? Everyone, it.
It's mostly a mix, to be honest. Like I have some people that require more of the natural therapy aspect, and some others that are more Reiki tarot things. So it really
Mm,
depends on where you're at in life and what you feel you need help for. Because all those things, they're related, but they don't all help with the same things.
yeah. Yeah, and like tarot, like a lot of people see it as a divination
Yeah.
tool, but kind of when we chatted, I know that you approach it more like in a way to get clarity
Yeah.
and guidance. So, do you want to just kind of explain how tarot from your perspective, like how tarot works and how someone can use it to kind of connect with their own intuition?
Yes, personally, when I use tarot, well, let's say I start like a tarot session, I'll ask for my deity or deities, depending on how I'm feeling that day, to
Mm,
accompany me and protect me in this, so that darker entities don't come and filter the thing.
mm,
And when I do it, I use it mostly to um, like I'll think of the question just like the normal way to do the tarot thing, and then I'll interpret very in an intuitive way. Like
mm,
I don't necessarily um, look at what the original meaning of the card is. Not that I don't care about it, I know all of it, but it's more like what I feel is the first answer I get to my question. Looking at the card is what I will give as a guidance.
mm,
So, like, let's say I look at a card and I feel like it's telling me that I need to let go and I need to move on and focus on myself, then this is what I'm going to get from this card. Even though, in a traditional way, this card would mean, like, I don't know, something else.
yeah.
Like, it really depends on how I feel the energy from that card is.
I think
And
that's so important to do
yeah,
too, because I know with any kind of divination like modality, people often like want to have all the books and they want to have like
mhm,
all the answers and to be able to like have something to reference. And I think that's important, like especially when you're first learning. But I think
yeah,
like learning to like cultivate listening to your own intuition
yeah,
is
definitely.
so important.
Because, like, when you buy a, a tarot kit, it's the interpretation in that book or whatever thing that comes with it is from the person that made it, so it's their intuition into it. But
Mhm.
for you are not that person, so your intuition about what you're interpreting is not necessarily going to be the same as what they meant it to be. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's why I agree with you. It's pretty important to actually tune in into your own intuition about it, like how you feel when you look at the card, what comes to mind, what emotions come.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, that's
Yeah.
yeah, I have a pretty intuitive approach to it.
And like, have you always been connected to your intuition? Did you have a strong connection to your intuition, like even growing up, or was it something that like you cultivated over time, or was there like a big moment where you like went through like a big change? Like how has that been throughout your life?
um I feel like when I was younger, I was closer to it. I listened to it a bit more, but as I grew older, I kind of like put a wall between me and my intuition because, like, society doesn't necessarily encourage that. They mostly say like do as we tell you, and that's how the world works, and if it's not physical it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So it's like I learned to distance myself from it, but with time it was always there. Like I've always like had this connection with the other realms, because, like, let's say as I was growing up, I would feel things, I would hear things, I would see things that people didn't necessarily see or hear or feel.
Hmm.
And so that always stayed with me, and at a certain point in my life it was pretty destabilizing because I thought I was going insane, which I
Yeah.
was not. It is good to know now. But yeah, it's actually the main reason I went into psychology, because I thought I was like batshit crazy, which I was not. I was just having like psychic intuitions and stuff that I didn't understand then. And
That's interesting.
taking a step back into it and looking at it now, I'm really glad that I made all this progress and that I actually took the time to just, like for the lethotherapy. It's an ad that came up in my social media, and I was like, you know what, I
Mm-hmm.
need to do this. And that's me starting to listen to my intuition again.
Mm-hmm.
So when I did that, it helped me understand me better. It helped me see things from a different perspective, and it helped me connect with who I really am, because
Mm-hmm.
interactions with people sometimes, like, a lot of people project things on you and you start thinking that this is who you are. But taking a step back and just like actually being like, you know what, I know that this is who I am. I know I like this is where I'm going, and this is what this means to me. So yeah, it really helped to understand myself better with the intuition and with everything. And now I'm closer and more spiritual than I've ever been in my entire life.
And isn't it amazing just yeah, just the way life shifts when
Oh yeah, it is
when
crazy.
you get to that point?
Oh
And
yeah,
can
like
you like just explain a little bit of the lethal therapy a little bit, like what a
yeah.
little bit more about what that is?
Basically, it's just using stones and their ability. Well, not just stones, but like I'll just gems and everything that is like precious or
Hmm.
semi-precious. It's using them and their abilities their energy, their vibration to help you calibrate and help you just find um, reharmonize. That's what I go
Mm,
for. Yeah,
yeah.
reharmonize whatever centers of energies that were destabilized, and they can help with like physical and mental health issues too. So it is like actually a study that happens. I haven't studied the actual thing because I'm not a gemologist, but
Hmm. I
um,
love that.
yeah,
It
it's
pairs
just using.
well with Reiki then,
Well,
I would
yeah,
imagine.
definitely. And tarot too. And like I said, all I've done is just add layers to my things. It's just because it helps with natural therapy. It is a natural thing that is offered by Earth for you to use. So, and it's been studied for like hundreds of years, people used to use them actively to help with physical things. Like certain stones will help with like gaining clarity, certain stones will help with like giving birth and stuff
Hmm.
like that. So yeah, it really depends on what your goal is. I use a pretty intuitive approach with that too.
Yeah.
You go with like whatever I feel is the right stone.
I do I offer a lot of guidance when it comes to stones and crystals, especially like for people
Yeah.
that come into the shop and everything. And so do you, like, you have tinctures and stuff that you do with the natural therapy. So when it comes to crystals, do you do a lot of it kind of like you would like a Reiki session where you do a lot of on the body crystals? Do you do tinctures? Like, do you have different approaches that you use with the crystals as well?
For the Reiki sessions, I do use my crystals. I also use it for tarot a lot because during my
Mm,
guidance, I feel like they help with protection and they help with like really receiving the message.
mm,
But for the Reiki sessions, I haven't actually put crystals on people yet. I've put them around them though, at the
mm,
places that I felt was I like the right place
yeah,
to help with whatever they needed help. And yeah, I definitely use them. I feel like they just help get the energy like circulating, and they just their vibrations just help the Reiki work better, I feel.
yeah. I think they go, yeah, they definitely go hand in hand.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
I feel like that too. Yeah.
and so kind of energy healing, like I feel like energy healing, there's so many like areas to it. I think
Mhm.
Reiki, it has definitely become more mainstream where people are like okay with it, they're open
Yeah.
to it, and they're kind of getting into it. And I even find with crystals, like a lot of people that come into the shop, like I'm surprised at how like many middle-aged older gentlemen come into the shop looking for crystals now, where primarily it was more like female based and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So it's cool to see just like these areas like expanding into the general public. And so when you're working, I guess, with crystals, whether it's with a Reiki practice or not, do you have like a favorite one or one that like you work with a lot because it's
Yeah. I do have favorite ones. I really like Lapis Lazuli because I don't know, I find
mm,
it super beautiful. I really like also obsidians because I
love
don't know, all
obsidian.
black
Yeah.
protection, and I don't know, I just love the energy it gives out.
Yeah.
And my I'd say my favorite one of all to use would be for some reason I forgot the name. It starts with an L and it's related to um it's actually this one. Like
Oh, labradorite.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was looking for the word. This is my favorite one of all. Like I find it so beautiful and everything it
Mm,
stands for, the myths around it, the legends
mm,
and all. Like I find it so like attractive.
yeah.
Like it really draws me in. If I could wear it on a day-to-day basis, like the size that I have of this one is like way too big, but if I could, I definitely would. Like this is
Yeah.
my favorite one of all.
I love labradorite too. Actually, I love all three of those. And I think blue kyanite. I like black kyanite too, but blue
Hmm.
kyanite is one of my favorite. I keep blue kyanite and some obsidian in my vehicle with me, so I have it with me all times, and
Great
I keep
idea.
a little selenite stick too. So they're just always. It's funny because like the dash of my vehicle is just like there's just all crystals because I'm like, oh, I might need this, so I'm gonna have this, so I bring I bring the crystals with me wherever I go.
Well, it's
So
important to have them. They protect you from like negative energy and they keep you like uplifted and
yeah.
open and everything. So I find that super smart.
Yeah, and I'm kind of like you too, where I'll choose things intuitively. Like when I do my
Hmm.
women's circles or any kind of gatherings, I always make a grid for us to sit around, and sometimes I'll like know what crystals I want, but then other times I'll just like kind of just feel it and be like, what are, and that I guess that's part of that intuition is just like
Yeah.
feeling into it and like being like, what do people need? here in this room. So for you, like what are your kind of mindfulness practices? Because I know like every time I talk to you, you're like always so optimistic and
Yeah.
uplifting, and like even like our conversation, we don't have to get into like, you know, your personal life and stuff like that, but like even as you're going through
Hmm.
kind of struggles, you always have such like a great demeanor and like point of view. And so what are some things that
You.
kind of keep you centered and yeah, just
Um, well, right now, because it changes over time, like depending on what I feel I need. Like I told you, I'm pretty intuitive. So whatever I feel I need to do, this is what I do.
mm,
So lately, what I've been doing is mostly a lot of Reiki on me,
mm,
because the affirmations and all that goes with doing the Reiki just helps me uplift my spirits. Like even though
mm,
sometimes like I don't mind going into a little bit of what I'm going through, but like even as I'm going through difficult stuff, like when I've been doing Reiki sessions, I end up crying in this session because like it's just the energy needs to come out, the emotions need to come out, and I don't tend to repress it. Like whatever comes up, just let it go.
yeah,
Whatever you hold in, it's going to stay there and you're going to have to deal with it later. So just I just let it flow. And I also do some meditation like every morning when I wake up. My actual alarm clock is not an alarm per se, it is a meditation session for 10 minutes. So
I
and it
love
is
it.
to recalibrate all my chakras.
Mm,
So
mm,
like sometimes it works better than others. I'm like depending on whatever's going through my mind. Sometimes it's easier to quiet it, sometimes it's not. And I just let it be, no judgment, just let it flow. If you like, when I notice that I'm not focusing on my meditation, I just straight back into it. And, just I just tend to or try to be as gentle as possible towards myself and have compassion towards myself because it's not by being harsh. I've tried that method and it doesn't work so well. So
yeah,
yeah. And I also do yoga sometimes. I try to be consistent with it. I'm not so good at it right now at the consistency part, but it'll come. I trust in life, in the universe, whatever.
yeah. We were actually talking about that before we
Yeah.
went live about how we're always, as humans, we're always striving for consistency, but
Yeah.
sometimes inconsistency is the most consistent
Right. Yeah.
thing. And I know, I know a lot of people like feel guilty um, sometimes because they like start to meditate and then they fall off and they start and then they like have this guilt, but I love your perspective where it's like you kind of go off course and you just go back in
Yeah.
and I think that, you know, in terms of like building habits and building consistency in life, I think that's what it's all about.
Really.
That just forgiving yourself and not being so hard on yourself and just yeah, being able to kind of move.
Yeah, well, no one's perfect, so it's normal, especially when they're new habits that you're taking on. Like, it's natural that it doesn't feel natural at first. So it's going to take some effort. And while it takes some effort, it's not going to flow.
Mm,
It will eventually once you keep practicing. You just have to keep doing it as much as you can. Like, at first when I started yoga, I used to do it like every day very consistently, but it wasn't an approach that I could maintain
mm,
because of like, my lifestyle. I have kids and like the routine sets in, and like sometimes like let's say you have to clean the home. Well, you have to clean the home. Like I don't always have time to start with yoga. So like I take this example because it's the one I'm struggling with right now. But like like whenever I find time to do it and whenever I have the energy to do it, I just center myself and I'm like, okay, this is what I'm doing, and I don't push myself further than what I feel I can do today. Like if today all I can do for yoga is like a 30-minute thing, then that's what it is, and 30 minutes is better than none. So
mhm,
just keep trying, and eventually it sinks in. Like, I used to not be very consistent with my tarot practice, and now I am. So it's just a matter of habits and like taking the time to build them too, because
Hmm.
like habits take a bit of time and they take energy to build, but once they're there, it comes naturally.
I love that. I love that. And so both you and your mom are natural therapists. And so
Yeah.
did she become one first? Did you do it together? Like it must be so neat to have your mom
Yeah.
also on this path to be able to like, talk to about things or like clients, like getting different perspectives and stuff. Like, what's that like?
We actually consult each other a lot, like not in a like I won't tell her about the client itself, but if
Hmm.
I have like a certain insight on what I should do, or I have like certain doubts, I'll go and talk to her a bit and be like, about like a certain issue, what do you feel you would do? And also about this community, like people are like, just like any community, like that it has to do with anything natural, people are pretty like close together, they tend to want to help each other, so we give each other a lot of resources. What her perspective is different from mine, so when I tend to want to help someone with certain things, I might not think what she thinks.
Mm-hmm.
So I do go and talk to her about it and be like, what would you use for that? And when she tells me certain things, like for me, for like I said earlier, for anxiety, I go for skullcap mostly, but for her, she goes for lavender. And this is a
Mm-hmm.
really great option too. So like it really depends, and I really love that we have these conversations, and it wasn't always like this. Like we used to be pretty different and pretty like we used to have a pretty problematic relationship, but as we did go through this curse together, there was like she's actually the one that got me into it, because at first I was supposed to be doing a doula training, but the the training was canceled for some reason. And so I decided to go into the naturotherapy, and I'm so glad I did, because we did all the classes together, and we would work together and talk to each other about everything and what we understood about the class, and that would give like it would complete the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, but she didn't start like this. She started with hypnotherapy, which is also a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, hypnotherapy is really cool.
Yes.
When we were talking about like modalities and putting in like focus, like I've been really just trying to focus in on a couple. I actually I'm like 2/3 of the way through a hypnotherapy practitioner
Ooh.
training. I still haven't done like all the exams and stuff like that, but and I've it's one of the things that I find so interesting, but I've kind of put to the side right now because I'm like, I want to be really good at the things, and so I don't want to spread myself too thin, like picking up so many things. So I'm gonna come back to it eventually, but I find it really interesting. But even what I've learned, I use when I do my guided meditations. I find
Mhm.
that it's really helpful when like facilitating meditations to be able to have that hypnotherapy training, because just even helping people kind of get into trance is really
Yeah, and
helpful.
it's a different kind of trance too. It's a
Hmm.
pretty profound one.
Yeah, yeah. So I love that you two work together. And Jessica commented saying that she loves that it's not a competition.
No,
um
not at all. Well,
yeah.
certain people are competitive, but that's just not my approach. Like I'm not in a competition with anyone. Everyone has a different perspective and a different like experience, and whatever this person has to bring is interesting.
I love
So
that. And I don't have that experience with like my mom, but my mentor, John Wilson, he
yeah.
often has very different perspectives than I do. And so I love having that person that I can talk to about anything, and just like the things, the experiences that we're having, and just like getting different perspectives. And I think that's part of, the mindfulness journey is like being open to other people's
Yeah.
perspectives
Oh, yeah.
and allowing yourself to not have to be right or wrong, but just accepting. And then when you bring in all of those different perspectives, just allowing it to integrate to this different kind of worldview.
Yeah. I totally
So,
agree. Like it makes me think of like a saying that I use when I do Reiki. Well, when you're at the heart chakra, where you're like, you love yourself unconditionally and you accept yourself as you are, but you also accept others as they are. So that's kind of like what it makes me think of, because when you
mhm,
accept like how people think and their different like opinions, it just brings like, it opens doors. Like you don't see it right now that way, but you might eventually see it that way. So like being open to their opinion is just a good thing.
mhm, mhm. Yeah. And when I was younger, I didn't always have that perspective, but now I was reflecting on this the other day. I was like, I'm like 1,000 times better a listener than I was when I was in, 10, 15, 20 years ago. And and yeah, I think that's part of, I guess, getting a
Oh
little
yeah.
bit more wise with
It
time.
comes with the intuition too, because like growing older, like when I used to be younger, my mom would tell me things and I would be like, not interested at all. Whatever you're saying, nah. But at this point right now, when she tells me things, and the worst part about this is like my mom, she usually like she has crazy intuition. Like she whatever she feels, especially about people and
Mhm.
situations, whatever she feels is usually right. So like I used to not want to have her insights because I would find that annoying because I knew she'd be right and I didn't want her to be. But now I actually go to her to know. Like I'll tell her about the situation. I'll be like, "What's your feeling about this, Ma?" And she'll be like, "Okay, this is what I feel." And when I don't feel like hearing it, I just go like, "Okay, we'll see."
Yeah. Yeah,
Maybe she's right.
having the hopeful optimism that maybe it's not exactly as she's saying, but
No. No. But it's
and
okay though, because like she's more in a really, really realistic way. Whereas I'm, like you said, more of an optimistic person. So I tend to see life as a more like I like to romanticize it.
mm,
And it's not necessarily a voluntary thing, although sometimes it is, and I like it because it makes life more beautiful in a general way. But like being realistic is really useful when it comes to relationships, when it comes to interacting with people and doing things like in a grounded way.
mm, mhm,
So she brings me back to earth usually when she does these things, and I always keep in mind like those conversations that we have about how she sees things, because like when I start to notice the things that she says, um I tend to be like a little more careful or a little more like aware of these things.
mhm. And so do you find as you um, kind of get more into your experience and your practices that your intuition like is growing and like that you you ask her for her perspective, but do you do it do you also get those kind of same
Yeah.
knowings now, and then it's kind of like confirming what you feel,
um
so to speak?
it depends on what the situation is, because
Mm,
i'm I'm intuitive, but I tend to also be very emotional as a
mm,
person. So I sometimes I get a little like, it's in my personal relationships though, not in my practice as much, but in my personal relationships, I tend to have a hard time at first discerning if this is an intuition or if this is just an emotion.
mm,
And with time, like I'd say right now, I'm a lot better at dealing with this than I used to be, let's say like a year ago. But
yeah.
I still have sometimes a little difficulty with discerning correctly what is just like a feeling, an emotion, what's really my intuition telling me. But usually it's that little like feeling inside, that little
Yeah,
voice in your head that's like, this is what I'm feeling. This is what it is.
I've gone through periods too where I've doubted or I've questioned my intuition because I had gone through trauma, and
Yeah,
then because of that trauma, I was always hyper sensitive to trying to keep myself
exactly.
safe. And so then I started to question my intuition because I was like, okay, is this like a trauma response? Like, am I just trying to keep myself safe? Or is this
Yeah,
actually my intuition trying to keep myself like, like
exactly.
which kind of like basket does that land in? And I feel like as I've kind of healed and I've been doing the work and I'm like more centered, grounded, have better boundaries, I've been able to open myself up to like truly like stepping into my
Hmm.
intuition because I don't have those same triggers that I used to, and
Yeah.
it's changed over time, and so I think part of the healing journey is being able to reclaim that
Yeah,
intuition.
definitely. I agree so much. Like at first, because I've had also like quite a lot of trauma. So at first, I didn't listen to my intuition because I thought it was just like anxiety and fear.
Mm,
But as like where I am right now, when I listen to my intuition, I know that because it doesn't always tell you not to do something, it tells you when something is right. It's personally for me, it's what pushes me to do these things you know, that I wouldn't necessarily do or that other people wouldn't necessarily go for. So like doing the natural therapy and Reiki and tarot things, those are not like conventional conventional ways to go about things
mm,
necessarily. So I feel like this is what my intuition has allowed me to do. It just it tends to get me out of my comfort zone, which I
I
find great because I love learning. I love like moving forward and growing as a person. So I've learned to actually listen to it more and not see it as like always the thing that gives me warning and um not stop myself from listening to it because it's not a PTSD response. It's not like it's just something that tries to protect yourself when you need it and something that tries to drive you forward when you need it. So,
Yeah, I know for me, I felt it like in my gut. I just knew. And when
mhm.
I thought about starting Moonbeam, and I had had a really successful marketing agency for 11 years. I was known in the business community, like and it was a really difficult decision for me
Mhm.
to like start on this whole new path. I had always been like a spiritual person and had my practices, but it wasn't something that like I openly shared
Yeah.
in those spaces and in those contexts. So it was but I felt it like at my core, and I'm so thankful that like I followed my intuition, but like but even kind of follow like things don't always just fall into place even when you
No.
like when you follow your intuition. And so like I did it, I stepped forward, I like started the thing, and now I like get to live my passion and my purpose, which is like beautiful. But like I had to struggle kind of through it because I also had to like do the work of like letting go of an old identity and like
Mhm.
allowing myself to become
Yeah.
who I am today, and to like break free from like the shackles of like who I think I'm supposed to be for people, or like how I
Yeah.
think people perceive me.
This is such a tough thing. Like I honestly for me, I'm not even sure I'm on the other side of this yet because sometimes I still struggle with like not with the people near me, but like with actually like showing it to everyone because I tend to have like this kind of like it's not necessarily a fear, but like it's like I used to be someone who didn't want to bother. Like I did a lot of people pleasing, and getting out of that is one hell of a work, to be honest. Like it's one hell of a job to do. So like this is what I've been working on for the past like so long, and I'm still like I don't think it's something that I'm ever going to be like done working on, because those things
Mm,
are so like as like women, they're things that are like literally taught to us from such a young age to people please and to do what others expect from us. And like I feel like this kind of societal pressure doesn't help with it. It like sometimes brings us back to that without really realizing it. So I feel like it's a lifelong work. But
mhm.
maybe that's just where I am right now. Maybe it won't be. Uh, but yeah, this is one hell of a challenge, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think even when you work through like certain situations, then you end up in new situations where it kind of tests your boundaries and kind
Oh
of
yeah.
tests who you are. And especially I think like when you're like a giving person
Hmm.
and you love to give um and like not necessarily like feel that you need to receive, it can be really easy to like
Oh
be in
yeah.
this mode of giving, and then one day you're like, wow, I'm kind of depleted. I haven't
Oh yeah.
received in a while. And it might be because of the people that you're connecting with, or it might just be because you haven't asked to receive,
Mhm.
right? Or been like open to receive. But um, yeah, I find that even like I'll get good in like one area and then there's more work to be done in another. And it's like an onion, there's
Oh
always
yeah,
more
definitely
layers.
it is. It
Yeah.
gives Shrek vibes.
I love that. Um, and so I guess we're getting close to the top of the hour, so I just kind of want
Okay.
to ask a couple more questions. And so, if I guess for you, and I'm just going to kind of keep this broad so you can bring it in to wherever you feel it needs to, but um, what would be like a message of hope or some type of guidance that you think is important for people to hear right now? Is there something that like resonates, or like your intuition is letting you know like what's something that you think that we all need to be reminded of?
Um, to trust yourself, really, just like whatever you feel is right for you is most likely it. Like
Mm,
your heart knows what you need, and when it tells you, listen to it. You know, even if it's difficult to do at first, eventually it'll get easier. Things don't stay hard. Like nothing is permanent in life, and yeah, just trust yourself for real.
mm. I love that, and it's honestly such a it's it's I guess the most important. Like
Yeah,
out of all of the things, when it all boils down
well, you're
to,
the one living your life, you know? So if you're unhappy with it, you're the one that can change it. You're the one that can bring something to it that will make you feel better or make you like more satisfied with whatever you're going through. So, yeah, that's trust yourself.
and to kind of like extend on that, what do you think? What are some ways or things that people can do that would allow them to trust themselves more?
um, well, I don't want to be that person, but like trust your intuition.
Yeah.
No, but for real, it's just like to I feel like for me what helped with that was just realizing that if I'm unhappy in life and I keep following other people's advice, like other people give advice for what they want for themselves, you know, for what they feel is better for them.
Mm.
or in that situation, for what they would do in this situation, but they're not you. They don't have your feelings, they don't have your experience, they don't, like, even if it's someone that's really close to you, they haven't been through your life, you know. So yeah, I feel like this is what would really help. Like, tune into what you feel is right for you, tune into whatever you think is the right thing to do for you at this moment, even if it hurts others, even if, like, I'm not saying like be mean, this is not at
Mhm.
all it, but it's more like, yeah, just prioritize yourself because it matters. If you're fine, then your relationships will be fine, then your life will be fine, and it'll all fall into place when you do the work, when you actually, like, do whatever you need to do to feel good.
I love that. And I don't know how to pronounce her name, but Ayla, she says, tune into your own truth.
Yeah, exactly. I
So,
agree with that.
yeah, it's so important. And honestly, it's so profound. And
Yes.
I have just, every time we talk, I always just love the conversations that
Yeah,
we have.
same.
It's so good. Oh. So I'm gonna do the raffle now. So we're giving away a $25 gift certificate to Moonbeam, and so I'll just kind of click on this and start it. And let's see, it just picks it automatically. So we have, oh, Jessica. Jessica won last week too.
She is lucky.
Yeah, she's lucky. Awesome. Well, Frederique, it's been really amazing. I love your perspective. I love your tenacity. And yeah, I just love your perspective and your personality. And just, I think honestly, um, just the way that you approach life and your objectivity, I think the clients that work with you must just be honestly so blessed because you don't find that in all people, especially in like practitioners, to be so objective, to listen to perspectives. And even when we were in this conversation, you know, you were very open about, you
Mhm.
know, this is from my perspective, or like just being very objective. And I think that that is one of your superpowers. I really
Thank you
do.
so
So
much. You're so
yeah.
kind. I love, love, love connecting with you. And I love hearing about, like, everything that you think, everything that, like, how you perceive life. I just love learning about people in general. So hearing people talk and who they are and everything is just like, I love it.
Amazing. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. And thank you to everyone that's joined us today. It's always so much fun being able to read your comments and just seeing how the conversation resonates with you all. So I really appreciate you jumping on as well. We aren't going to have a show next week because I am away next week, but we will be coming back the following week. And again, thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate it. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks.
Thank